Where's Mark? My God, he's on TV. Okay.
77 tomorrow.
Hi, Gail.
82 on Saturday. 85 on Sunday.
What did,
Did you turn him on?
Which is normal fall weather in Mosquito.
let's see, yeah.
Okay, my company's here now, so talk fast, everybody.
Check. Bart, can you hear us okay, buddy? Oh, you're muted.
Yes, I hear you. Do you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Sounds good.
Very good. Thank you.
So Randy, do we push him down to turn him off and up to turn him on?
Once you get started, okay.
Oh my God. Somewhere and the plane won't get until like 2:15. No.
So Kathy, where's Scott? Has he bailed out?
Yeah, he's gone. He's out of here.
Oh, smart
Standing
guy.
over, he's standing over to the side so you can't see him.
I thought he had really got smart and
Nope.
bailed out
Nope.
on us.
I think you have to wave both hands for him to see. Scott or Bart, he wanted to know where you were.
Yeah, I see you, Scott. You're going to regret coming into this, I think.
So on your CEO report, were you going to mention that, we just got the report through the Abrego South and we'll be discussing it at a workshop or the next workshop or something?
No, because that's not really what we're gonna do.
Oh,
I
okay,
mean, we're gonna have a work session on the budget,
okay.
just like yesterday, and I think part of that discussion includes, do you keep money in the budget to rebuild the pool?
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
I can say, right now, and I said it in paper. There's a 50-50 chance the pool can rebuild, would be rebuilt. I don't think that's changed.
Okay.
The board has to make the decision.
I know, I just thought, Ellie might try to change the agenda to bring it up today but it won't make any difference because that'll be before you speak anyway, so,
What's
yeah,
gonna be said?
I know.
Just never know.
I know.
Um. I need to say something about it.
So who are we missing, Bev?
Well, you can just say that we received the report, but we still need to.
We're missing
spend some
four,
time
right?
reviewing.
I think
Lanny,
the lights,
Marge, there's Beth.
what it,
Hi,
Hi, Beth. And, oh, Dave, right? Dave Barker.
I don't see,
We were just missing, now we're only missing three, Beth.
pretty
So Dave-
sparse down there.
And Lanny, well, there's quite a few there. Well, about half of us are there.
Yeah, we got 8.
Yeah.
Hey, Beth,
Yeah,
Beth,
Yes.
Beth, do you have
Oh.
the list of directors to call roll?
I do.
Okay,
Well, if last meeting is any indication,
okay,
yeah.
okay, thank you.
Beth, I noticed your,
My eyes are a little weird.
did you have an accident?
Yeah, well, yeah, I had my eyelids
Oh,
excised or something, because,
oh, okay.
Eyelid tuck.
yeah, they were getting in my way. So.
They're very brave to show up at a meeting for that. John, John
You're the
had
ones
it
who have to
done-
look, well, actually, I have to look at me too, but so, yeah,
Yeah,
well,
John
just,
had that done. John had that done several years ago when he was still working, and the surgery and everything went well. But then they gave him an appointment, or excuse me, an ointment to put on the stitches, and he was allergic to the ointment, and so
Oh,
his
great.
eyes swelled. His eyes swelled up terrible, and they said, "Quit using that." So
Anyway.
that it wouldn't have been bad except for that.
I'm doing, yeah, I mean, it was Monday. I think by Friday I won't scare the public that quite so much.
you
Just-
you just
just
got
sunglasses.
raccoon eyes.
It's
Just
summertime and sunglasses work great.
Yeah.
the-
Anyway, someone said you should have it done around Halloween. Next time I'll,
Oh,
better.
Halloween, that's good. Yeah, trick or treat.
Do you know
But,
if Nanny's back?
anyway.
When are you ladies going back to Green Valley?
we're
Beth,
coming
I'm-
back on the 7th of October, actually.
Oh, that's coming
And
up.
I might be leaving the 1st of October, but we might get stuck here for a few days, so I'm not sure exactly what day we'll be leaving here.
Oh,
So I should be back sometime during the first week in October, I hope.
how about you, Steve?
It's usually Halloween.
So what
Usually
happened
Halloween.
to Lanny? Is he?
Uh,
Well, he's usually Zoom, but
yeah, he's not here yet. Marge isn't here yet. So
he hasn't responded to the last couple of emails and texts that I've sent him about the audit committees, so I'm not sure where he's at right now.
I saw his email on the acceptance of the change in the employee breakfast
Oh,
this week. So
Okay, I think everybody that's gonna be here is here that I can tell. So we might as well get started. It's 2:02. So, Beth, would you like to read the roll call, please?
Sure. Kathy Batchelor,
Here?
Candy English,
Here.
Beth Dingman, here. Nellie Johnson,
Here.
Bart Hillier,
Here.
Steve Reynolds,
here,
Dave Barker,
Dave is coming back from Chicago today, so he didn't know that he'd be able to make it today because their plane doesn't land till 2:15. So I don't
Good
know that we'll
guess
be
he'll
going
miss
that
it.
long. We'll wait and see. Go
Marge
ahead.
Garneau. Bev Lawless,
Here,
Lanny Smith. Jody Walker
Here.
and Scott.
Here.
Thank you
So
very
what do
much,
we
Bev.
have? One, two. Do we have a quorum? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So we have a quorum. Should have 8. I think we have 3 people missing.
yeah, Marge, Lanny, and Bart.
There's
Okay.
Lanny.
Oh, there's Lanny. Yay!
Hey,
No,
Hi.
I'm,
welcome back, Lanny. Hope you
I'm
had a
not
good
missing, I'm here.
vacation.
Bart is in disguised as a
Yeah,
black
he's-
box.
He was on, his picture was showing earlier. There he is.
Okay, we'll move on. Are there any amendments to the agenda? And either I need a motion to amend or I need a motion to adopt.
I move approval of the agenda. Nellie?
Nellie, is your is it on?
Yep.
Okay,
it's on.
thank you.
It says it's on. Yeah.
And I second.
Okay, Jody Walker seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Can't see your hand, Bart.
I'm voting yes.
Thank you. So it's unanimous of those of us here. President's report. I really don't have a great deal to bring up today, just to thank everybody in the audience that came along to see what we were doing, and also just to announce that the artisan shop across the way is going to have their grand opening on October 1st, and the ribbon cutting at 10 o'clock in the morning. They'll open at 9. It was in the paper today, so I know it's out there, but I just wanted to make sure everybody here knew about it. If as many of you are here could come, that would be great. So with that, I'm going to move on to Scott's report.
All right. Can you hear me? Kinda?
Yes.
Yes.
Kind of.
Okay.
Barely.
Great. So a lot of projects have been winding down. We've had a very busy spring and summer with various projects throughout our campus. Desert Hills Center in particular has undergone a huge transformation, kind of like a butterfly, I think. The locker rooms were remodeled and opened up a 2 weeks ago. A lot of great compliments so far. I think people are happy with them. The footprint, if you recall, isn't quite as big as we originally anticipated, but because of costs, we had to pare that down a bit. I think at the end of the day, the product is very good, and it's a better space. The flow is much better. It's more usable. So far so good there. The pool was closed for quite some time. You'll recall a year ago we were talking about how there's a possibility that pool might need to be replaced, and through additional analysis, it became clear that we really just needed to replace a lot of the infrastructure, the pumps, pipes, filters, etc. So rather than rebuilding the pool, we were able to do it significantly less in terms of cost, but it was still a big chunk of change at $250,000. Most of those came out of our MRRA fund, which is replacement type infrastructure. The pool's opened. It's doing well. The members are happy at this point. I think the spa has been reopened. That center has been plagued a bit with some plumbing issues over the last 6 months, if not longer. We've had some flooding. We've had some rain that seeped in through the side. It came in, we believe, following the trunks of some palm trees. Those palm trees were removed because of that. Then we had a water hose that went to an ice machine that eroded, and we had a flood due to that. And then we had a sewer line back up about 2 weeks ago that was related 100% to wipes. We've all been told that wipes are not flushable, even though the packaging says it's flushable. It's flushable, but it also sticks to the pipes. So we were trying to remind people in our e-blast and in little flyers on the backs of doors in stalls to toilets to please not flush wipes. You can use them, but put them in the waste basket that's there. About 300 members were displaced from using the center over that short time period. We spent about a minimum of 14 hours of staff time correcting the problem, and we spent just under $5,000 correcting the problem. So reminder, please do not flush wipes. So other than that, Desert Hills is looking really good. It was painted over the summer. It's a nicer color. It needed it. It was pretty muted and oxidized from all of the sun. It looks a lot better. Same with Del Sol Clubhouse. That's our new color theme, in case you haven't figured that out yet, but it's looking really good. Abrego South and the pool are really one of the bigger items in discussions. There was an article in the newspaper. There were a few quotes in there that, we received the report, the soils report from the engineering firm that took some core samples. There were some compaction issues significantly. The compaction wasn't done properly in the 70s when this pool went in 1974. On top of that, there's been a series of leaks for a number of years. We believe that came from the spa. That has contributed to water issues under the deck, and that has increased some of the compaction challenges. So the recommendation from the consultant essentially is the soils around the pool and under the locker room all need to be replaced with engineered soil at about 7.5 feet deep. So that's significant. That means the pool, that means the locker room all need to be removed. The big question, of course, going forward, and I think we made this clear in the newspaper on Sunday, was, does it make sense? Is it feasible? Is it cost effective to replace that pool and that locker room? We know that facility, in terms of the pool and the spa, are very often the lowest used pool out of all of GVR's pools. And we've had some really good and I think very thoughtful discussions in the Fiscal Affairs Committee about that and about ongoing maintenance of aging infrastructure. And, back in the 70s, I'm sure when the developers built these facilities and these pools and said to GVR, we're going to deed this to you, we accepted all of them really with open arms, thinking at some point, we don't have to really worry about the ongoing maintenance or replacement of these facilities. Well, here we are in 2025, and it's not 1974 or 1984 anymore, and we're having to replace these infrastructures and these pools. We estimate a minimum of $2 million to replace that pool and that locker room, and it could be closer to 2.4. So it remains to be seen, I think, at this point, if that is going to move forward or not. I think we've, again, as I said, had some really good discussions about the cost benefit of that. We do have an MRRB, which is our pool and spas fund. It's about $1.6 million. So just to put that into perspective, if we spend $1 million, 1.3 on replacing that pool, that means that fund is down to $300,000. We can't replace another pool if that money is spent. So we need to be very cautious and recognize that resources are limited. We have a lot of infrastructure that is aging and needs to be maintained and fixed and replaced. So this is, I think, going to be an ongoing challenge and conversation that GVR is facing. We're, of course, very sensitive to member dues, and I think we need to take that into consideration as well. So I don't think any decision's been made at this point, but I think it's going to take a lot of thoughtful discussion from the board in the next few weeks on how they want to move forward with that. And so that's all I'll say about that for now, but it's an ongoing challenge. Other issues, I mean, we're wrapping up the budget season. The Fiscal Affairs Committee made a recommendation to the board yesterday. Nellie Johnson, the chair, will talk about that more in a bit, but we anticipate bringing that recommendation to the board in October for a work session, followed by hopefully approval in October as well. We're wrapping up a lot of work on policy changes. We're going to talk about some of those today. That's the only action item before you, which are potential bylaws changes that the Board Affairs Committee has looked at thoroughly. So that is my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank
Does
you.
anybody have any questions, Scott? Okay. Thank you very much, Scott. And we'll move on to the committee reports.
Kathy, I'm sorry, I have one quick question.
Sure,
Which I hate
go
even
ahead.
ask. What is the limit that we can spend on a project, and unless it doesn't matter on something that only applies to new projects, that 10% or 12% cap that we have that is based something to do with our capital or our income or whatever.
It's
What is the
12
limit we can spend?
It's 12% based on audited revenue for new projects. Replacement projects were excluded intentionally for
okay.
this exact scenario. If we
Super.
have to replace a pool that's 1.6 or $1.8 million, we wanted to make sure that we could actually move forward with that. So the CPM was changed. Actually, it was a bylaws change. I'm sorry. It was a bylaws change that changed that to 12% of audited revenue, excluding replacement projects.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now that we have Bev already speaking, you're first on the list for the committee reports for the audit committee, Bev.
We did just receive the 990 report yesterday, I think, and I sent that to all of my committee members, and we are in the process of planning a date for our next meeting. Nancy Moyo is working with us to set that up, and we were just texting and emailing back and forth to figure out what day works for everybody. So we should have a meeting sometime next month to go over that with everybody's questions.
Okay, thank you. Board Affairs Committee, Candy English.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Batchelor. The BAC met on Tuesday, September 9th at 1:30 p.m. to discuss proposed changes to the bylaws and to continue discussion on our current guest pass policy. Today's board meeting will review the committee's recommendations for bylaw changes, and then the board will vote for any changes to those bylaws. The Board Affairs Committee will continue its discussion on the guest pass policy in its next meeting, which will be Tuesday, October 14th at 1:30 p.m. And as always, all GVR members are encouraged to attend any GVR committee meeting or to view the meetings on the GVR website after we've met. So please, anybody, if you're interested, we'd love you to come to any committee meetings and share your input with us.
Thank you. Next will be Fiscal Affairs Committee, Nellie Johnson.
Thank you. We met twice during the past 2 weeks to put together our recommendations on the operating budget, and then yesterday on the capital budget. I think the work that the committee did over the summer, over the past 6 months, looking at the housing sale forecasts, revenue enhancements, and also reviewing the new reserve study that's been recently completed, helped inform our decisions, and we had a great dialogue, and we look forward to presenting our recommendations on October 8th.
Thank you. Investments, Lanny?
Nothing to report, Kathy, as we didn't, our next meeting is in October.
In October, thank you. Nominations and elections, Beth Dingman?
Yes, we met on September 11th, and we came up, we don't agree with the new bylaws as we are being asked to change them. The NNE committee felt like we didn't want to be disappeared or deselected. So we did
Passed
agree
away.
that the name should change to the Elections Committee. but we didn't feel like it should be eliminated, and I will go into more of those reasons for our thinking when we discuss it as an item to be voted on.
Okay, thank you, Beth. Planning and
Oh,
evaluation.
excuse me,
Steve?
can I just say one more thing? We did go
sure.
over the calendar, and we finalized the calendar for the elections coming up, and the annual meeting and everything else. We did that as well. Sorry.
Okay, that's all right. Thank you. Steve Reynolds, planning and evaluation.
Thanks, Kathy. No activity to report. Basically, our responsibilities concluded with our August meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve. For the next item, the consent agenda, all the items that are on the consent agenda would be the Board of Directors' regular meeting minutes, August 27th, the Board of Directors' work session minutes, September 10th, and the financial statements of May, July, and August. Do I have a motion to accept those?
So moved.
Beth.
Thank you, Beth.
I second.
And Jody Walker is seconding. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It's unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. Is she in? Yeah.
You marched it, yeah.
Oh, there she is. Hi, March. Thank you. I didn't see you. Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't see if your hand was up for that. For the minutes, the adoption is, so it is. Okay, thanks. So we do have a unanimous vote on the consent agenda. So the next item will be an action item. We're going to be going into approving Board Affairs Committee's recommendation for the bylaw changes for 2025, going into 2026, and Candy English is going to start us off with that.
Okay. The bylaw changes for the 2026 ballot that have been recommended by the Board Affairs Committee included several amendments relating to the following items: director term limits, the elections nominating process, check signing authority, governance committee reform, composition of committees, subcommittees, and having open meetings. And now I'll turn it over to Scott and he can get into those in detail and we can, I guess, vote on each one.
Yeah, however you all want to do that. Thank you very much.
Well,
The board met in work session on September 10th and did review what is before you on some potential changes. There seemed to be mostly consensus, I think, on mostly all of the items that are being considered, except now we might want to vote separately on or you might want to vote separately on the committee changes in light of the NNE's recent meeting. The other item, however, that you would probably want to vote separately on, or we would recommend that you do, is the term limits item, which is before you on the screen. And for those of you that are at home, you should be able to see it on your screen as well. The term limits item came because several individual board members had suggested asking the membership to limit the terms of office on the board to no more than a total of 2 terms, regardless of the terms being consecutive or not. And on page 47, which is what is on the screen, you can see we have several options. These options came from the board work session. What is the red line in section 1, term of office, subsection A? The red line, it's actually a blue line, is what was presented at that meeting. That was initially the recommendation from certain board members. And that equates directly to number 2 of the options below that, in case you haven't figured that out. And as number 2 below says, the original recommendation of removing the word consecutive and removing the last sentence, which is a former director may be reelected after 1 or more years, absent from the board. The whole sentence in context does say no director may serve more than 2 consecutive terms In this case, the word consecutive would be removed, including time served as an appointed director. The following sentence would then be stricken. A former director may be re-elected after 1 or more years' absence from the board. That is option 2 under the 3 options that are before you. Option 1 is to change only the time served from 1 year to 3 years. In other words, the sentence would read, no director may serve more than 2 consecutive terms, including time served as an appointed director. A former director may be re-elected after 3 years absence from the board instead of 1 year absence from the board. That's option 1. Option 3 is removing the language as time served as an appointed director for the partial term served for a resigning director. And that language, if I can make sure that I've got it here, says, each year, the term of office of 3 directors shall expire, and 3 directors shall be elected for a term of 3 years to succeed those directors whose terms expire. No director may serve. Oh, I'm sorry, where? It is the last sentence. I'm sorry. It's the very last sentence, which says a former director may be re-elected after. Nope, that's still not right. Help me out here. Which one is it? It's the appointment process.
I don't think it's in this section. Didn't.
The language says that if a director is appointed to fill an unrealized or an unfinished term, then that term counts. In other words, if they're finishing a term that they've been appointed to someone else, then that term counts as one of their existing, one of their 2 terms, one of their 2 consecutive terms. There was some questions about how maybe that isn't fair and that language should be removed. And gosh, if I can find where that is specifically, that would be helpful.
Couldn't find it either.
Well, we'll look for it.
We had it in the BAC. When we were talking about it in the BAC, we had it written down. Where did that go?
With me.
Nancy, do you recall where that is? Which section? Yeah.
Let's see if I can
me too.
see it in the BAC minutes.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that. Those are the 3 options before you, and perhaps before you vote on it, you want to see exactly where that is. But hopefully you've gotten the gist and understand that when you're appointed to fill an unexpired term, that term counts as one of your consecutive terms, one of your consecutive 2 terms.
Separate issue, outside of the spacing between the 1 to 3. Option 1 and 2 seem to relate to terms, since it's in a different section of the CPM, right?
Well, it's in the bylaws, I believe, on what
in the
happens
bylaws.
as you follow it. Excuse me, as you follow the terms. If somebody takes a term that is less than 3 years to accommodate somebody who's leaving, then that term counts as one of your 2 terms. However, it also speaks to what happens if someone doesn't agree to that, then you just move down the list. So it's as I remember discussing it in BAC, it all came together as why there was 3 different items we were discussing. But it is in the bylaws, I'm quite sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's right before us, and it's always that way. If you're looking for something, it's right in front of you. But it is the sentence that says no director may serve more than 2 consecutive terms, including time served as an appointed director. So that's option 3. Option 3 would remove terms included terms including time served as an appointed director. I'm sorry for that. Again, it's right in front of me, so I can't see it.
Okay,
Is that
so
clear?
let's start over with 1, 2, 3. Changing only the time served from 1 to 3 years.
Correct.
Terms from, okay.
That's the first option.
That's option 1. Yeah.
Option 2. Removing the word consecutive. So this number 2 is serving two terms of 3 years each, or 2 3-year terms.
Correct, but they don't need to be consecutive.
Right.
Okay.
And may be reelected after. So then there was the choice of between 1 or 3 years.
That is what that's what number 1 is.
Okay, so, okay, right, that's what number 1, and now number 2 is removing the word consecutive.
Correct. So it doesn't matter if they're consecutive. It's just 2 terms would be the limit.
Right, and number 3 is removing the language as time served.
Right. To include one of those terms. Now, when staff put forth the red line originally, we just left that existing language and left it as it's currently written, which is no director may serve more than 2 consecutive terms. Removed the word consecutive and left the language terms including served as an appointed director. So number 3 would remove the last part of that sentence, which means if you were appointed to fulfill an unexpired term, that wouldn't count as one of your 2 terms or 2 consecutive terms.
So actually, Scott, as a part of this, we could do 3 different, we could have 3 different motions in various times. And just to get this moving along, I would move that we adopt option 2, which, excuse me, which removes the term consecutive terms and specifies a former director may be reelected after 1 year or more years. I'm sorry, my eyesight is just really awful on this small print. Absent from the board. And so it would remove that last sentence and it would change the term to delete the word consecutive. So any 2 terms, and it wouldn't matter if it was consecutive or not. So my motion is to adopt number 2 as it is written in A above the red line.
Wait.
And then I would need it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Number 2 doesn't really make sense to me.
Well, it does if you look at A above it, it's redlined in blue. It's not a red line, it's a blue line up above.
You want me to read that again for everyone?
Read the positive sentence.
I will. The sentence reads, and this is for option number 2, where there's been a motion for this. No director may serve more than 2 terms, period. That's what it would say. Right now it says no director may serve more than 2 consecutive terms, including terms served as an appointed director.
Scott,
Yes.
it wouldn't, it would say for a term of, wait a minute, that including time served as an appointed director would not be taken out. That's left in.
No,
So it would end after that, not after the word terms.
No, that would be take that whole last sentence, Marge,
Where-
would be taken out.
That's not the last sentence. The last sentence says that they can be reelected after 1 or more years absent from the board. And it doesn't
Yeah,
say,
that would,
it says, take out the word consecutive. So it says no more than 2 terms, including time served as an appointed director, period.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry, you're
Yes.
correct.
Marge is right.
Occasionally.
Okay.
Mhm.
always.
Madam Chair, is there a second on this motion?
I don't have a second yet.
Second,
Bev Lawless would be the second. So now we can have discussion. With regards to making the motion on this item, the reason that I was agreeing with it is that we have had in the past meetings with consultants with regards to board activities and such. And Alexander Carrillo was the company that indicated to us that boards our size, typically 71% of the time, have term limits rather than something that is written up otherwise. Additionally, I really think that this is a good thing just to keep people moving so that we have new ideas that come into GVR as new people are elected to the position. Is there anybody else that has a comment with regards to it?
I do.
Okay.
I don't like this one because I think number one, you're excluding people who maybe like I did. I served 15 years ago and then decided to come back. And I think I've been a valuable board member. I mean, in my opinion, to me, I like saying the first one where we only change the time from 1 to 3 years so that they don't come back and bounce back in every year. But having that time off helped me to see a lot of differences and to feel more comfortable with my role as a board member coming back on again. So I think you're going to be, I just think this one's a hard one to explain to our members that what we're doing is saying if you've been on for 2 terms, you can't ever come on again. When maybe you have a good board member that you would like to have come back, but you can't. Now, did any of that make sense?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
It did to me, Marge.
Whew.
I don't know if anybody else has a comment to that.
Art does.
I'm sorry, I cannot see Bart on my screen. So Bart,
I've
go
got-
ahead.
Thanks, Kathy. I want to make a couple of quick observations. Number one, as I said back when BAC was reviewing this, and of course I'm a member of BAC, I'm not sure that it serves a tremendous purpose in that, as far as I can tell, it's attempting to fix something that's not busted. I don't know that the scheme that we already have has produced any negative results that I can identify. Marge is one of 3 board members with whom I've served on this board, who would have been excluded from their service during the time that I've been on this board, in that it was their 3rd or 4th terms. And all 3 of those board members, Marge included, have been great. So I don't know that we would have gained a lot by excluding Marge and the other 2 board members who are also very good board members from serving. Number 2, as to this advice from the consultant, those consultants advise primarily, in fact, almost exclusively 501c3s, which is to say charitable organizations. And turnover in board members is often important in charitable organizations because that increases the possibility of expanding the scope of donors if you have a changing roster of directors. We're not a 501c3, we're a 501c4. None of our board members has any responsibility to try to get donations to GVR. So that reason, which as far as I can tell is the primary or maybe sole reason to enforce this sort of term limit. And number 3, it's being pitched that we don't have term limits now, but we're talking about term limits. In fact, we do have term limits now. They're just in a kind of an unusual form. The term limits that we already have, that we've had for decades, and which, as I said earlier, seem to be working fine, prohibit board members from running for more than 2 consecutive terms. And if the damage of incumbents running is that incumbents have an unfair advantage over people who are not incumbents, then our system already acts as a form of term limits in that after a second consecutive term, somebody can't run and therefore loses whatever advantage there is to incumbency in running. So anyway, for those reasons, although I'm generally receptive to the idea of term limits in positions in which a lot of power accrues to people who serve multiple terms, on the GVR board, that's just not true. I have never seen that excessive power accrues to any of the 3 members that would not have been able to serve the terms that I've seen them serve since I've been here. Thanks.
Bart, I really don't like to bring up individuals in this kind of a thing because I don't think that's fair to the individuals nor to the people who might be replacing them. My thought on this term limits, where you leave it at 2 term limits. Yes, the people who have had more than 2 limits or have served 2 limits and might want to go on to a third. That to me doesn't mean that somebody new coming in is not going to be a really good board member, could do just as, excuse me, just as good a job as somebody who's already been on the board for a long period of time. They may have a little fresher idea of some things to be done, but I don't think that we should be putting personalities to this. I just don't see that as an object of this term limits at all. Is there anybody else? Nellie?
Kathy?
Thank you. I support what Marge was saying. I support option 1. I think there is value in having a space between terms, and right now it's 1. If I remember our discussion at the BAC, which I serve on, we thought the compromise of moving it to 3 allowed for time between terms, and it also allowed for new people to come in, but it didn't take away from our membership, because we are an elected versus, which is different than a lot of not-for-profit boards. We're elected by our membership, and our membership moves here at a younger age, and so we could live here for 40 years, and so limiting to 2 terms to me is too restrictive. So I favor option 1, where we take a space of 3 years.
Okay, Beth Dingman, I'm sorry. I think you had your hand up.
Well, I definitely don't like the space of 1 year, because that means one person could be on for 12 out of 13 years, and I think that's a lot. And I don't, not personalities, but points of view. Clearly, people have different points of view about finances and about, how GVR should spend its money and things like that. So I think new points of view are always good. So, and I would either support the just 2 terms period, or 2 terms with at least 3 years in between, because I don't think it's good that the same person could be theoretically on the board for 12 years out of a total of 13 years.
Okay, thank you, Beth. Is there anybody else that would like to speak to this?
Yeah.
Lanny's got his hand. Lanny?
I really struggled with this one because there are pros and cons to both approaches. I think I would come down on the side of where Bart and Marge are going. And that would be not in favor of term limits, but I would be in favor of a space of time in between if someone's there for 2 years, having a space in between before they can come back, whether it's 1, 2, or 3 years doesn't really make a difference to me. I think, being, speaking personally, if I had come onto this board not having had 4 years of committee work, by the time I'm really an effective board member, it's year 3. So I think for many brand new board members, I think they would struggle in the first 3 years, and then 3 years later, they're gone. So, and they may be, Beth, to your point, someone really, really good that we would want to have longer. So I'm not in favor of term limits, but I am in favor of a break between terms. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Steve?
This is a complicated, I think it's a very complicated policy question, because if people are considering running for the board and they're new, and they know there are incumbents that have served, for 6 years, and then they're running again, I think that's going to restrict how many new members we get who want to run, because we're only going to be electing 3 now instead of 4. And it is a lot of work. I think it's a big commitment. And I think it's, it takes a lot of energy to run for the board. And if you've got incumbents that are well known, that you don't think, you think it's going to be challenging to win, I think it's going to restrict how many new members are going to be interested in serving on the board. So I am in favor, I believe, of the 2-term limit. And it's difficult for me to understand, like I talked about in the work session, where we've got Beth that's only going to be serving 1 year, and then we've got Jody who's going to be serving 3.5 years. And we're going to be counting that term for Beth.
2.5, not 3.5.
Oh,
2.5.
sorry, 2.5 years. Yeah. So, I think this is pretty complicated. I mean, I'm reading these 3 options and I'm like, I'd kind of like to, I think if we could combine a couple and make it a better option, but, I haven't studied it well enough to be able to propose that. So that's my opinion. Thanks.
Jody?
Okay, I think we need to, I like the first one, number one. I think we need to vote on what we've got here before we rewrite additional language, because BAC put a lot of work into that. There was a lot of hefty discussions on that at the meeting, and we have 3 good options here. And I just think we need to go that route first. That's
Okay.
mine.
Bev Lawless?
Although I halfway agree with Jody, I strongly feel we need term limits, as I disagree with some other people. And they say it doesn't matter, and I kind of agree with Steve. If you've got people that have been on it forever, and it's like, well, why should I run? They're going to like the people they already know. But I think 2 term limits, or 2 3-year terms. And I would be okay with saying, okay, if you're filling somebody's spot, like Jody is or Beth is, if it's less than a year, then that wouldn't count. So technically they could do almost 7 years. But if it's longer than a year, then it's going to count as a term. But and if you don't want to say no more than 2 terms, then I would say a minimum of 3 years in between the terms. But I'm for number 2. And if you want to modify that slightly, then I could possibly go along with that if we made some changes.
Bev, being as how you seconded the motion, would you like to do friendly amendment to include that for those people?
Oh, That was a trick. Okay. Can I say amend number 2 to say how did they put it? Not, you could amend number 2 to say including appointed directors if their term was less than 1 year. Can we, is that close enough to, I mean, that's not an exact wording, but, does that work?
So you're saying a director can serve no more than 2 terms,
Right.
period.
And
And
unless they're an appointed
unless
director
they're an
of less than
appointed
1
director
year.
who serve, in which case they can run for, they can serve, yeah, just in case, oh yeah, don't say anything else, say unless they were appointed for less than 1 year, yeah.
Yes.
I think if I'm interpreting you right, Bevan, I think I am. I think it would actually read serve more than 2 terms, including time served as an appointed director, comma, if that time served is over a year.
So less than 1 year.
Well,
No,
no, it would be
over a year.
is over a year, because the way you're pitching it is that if somebody served more than a year, then that would count as a term.
Yes.
So, including time served as an appointed director, I still think it would have to say comma, if
I'm
that
fine
time
with the commas.
served was more than a year. In other words, that's going to count as a term.
Is more than a year.
Yeah. Or you could say,
Okay.
not counting time served as less than a year of time served as an appointed director.
I'm trying to make it as
One
simple
is
as I
the
can.
negative way of saying it and one is the positive way of saying it, but they're both saying the same thing, I think.
Yes, right.
Okay. And
So
I'm
Nancy,
sorry, I didn't hear
work
what Bev
with
said.
this. I said one is a positive way of saying it and one is the negative way of saying it. So no more than 2 terms unless, now I can't say it. Unless they're an appointed director. If they're an appointed director, if it's less than 1 year, then it doesn't count. And if it's more than a year, then it does count as a term. But I think maybe the way Bart said it did work.
Unless the person is, unless the director is appointed for more than 1 year.
Let me see.
Understand the purpose of it.
Nancy has a question.
Question, Nancy?
I was
Moya?
going to state what is, I believe is what's being said here
Okay.
for the motion. So no director may serve more than 2 terms, including time served as an appointed director if the time served is over a year.
Including or unless it's less than 1 year.
I think it should be more positive, including if
Yeah.
it's more than 1 year, the way Nancy had, isn't that what you just said, Nancy?
Right, I'm saying what Bart said, including time served as an appointed director, if the time served is over a year.
Is
So
over.
no more. So if it's more than a year, it counts as a term.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes,
Yes.
because that would leave 2 years on the board. If it's over a year, then it would be 2 years remaining on that term.
Then you get 1 full term and 1 partial term. If the partial term is over a year, you only get 1 full term and then 1 partial term.
Yes.
Correct. You have that written down, Nancy?
So
So if we're all agreed on that term, then we could go ahead and vote on this motion.
You need to get a
Your
second.
discussion?
Laney's got a
I would-
question.
More discussion? Okay. All right.
Laney's got a question.
Sure. Who would like to lead the discussion after this? I'm
I-
sorry, I cannot see.
Yeah, I don't see anybody's hands up. I guess
Well,
I don't.
mine was up.
Okay, go ahead. Laney's up.
Okay, go ahead,
Okay.
Lenny.
So again, I come back, I struggle with us trying to find words to accommodate a partial term. And I'll take us back to 1960 when, Johnson took over from Kennedy, served the rest of Kennedy's term. Then he came back in 64, won the general election, and he could have gone in 68, but didn't. Therefore, he's more than 2 terms, technically. Had he stayed and won in 68, he would have been 64 to 68, 68 to 72, plus the 2 or 3 years that he had served out Kennedy's term. So I think we might be overcomplicating something. Yeah, I think we're just trying to overcomplicate this to accommodate term limits.
But
Just food for thought.
I don't understand what you're saying, Lanny.
Well, in the example that was given, so let's use Jody and yourself, Beth, would be allowed to serve out the rest of this term. Then you would be limited to the next term, another 3-year term, and that's it. So total time would be 5 years or 5.5 years, correct? Correct.
If it were
That's
me,
the
the
total-
total time would be 3,
Would be
7 years.
Beth would be
7
7
years, and
years.
for Jody, the total time would be
5,
5.
5.5, yeah.
5.5.
Right.
So I guess I just struggle with partial. I think so I'm going to use Jody as the example. So Jody finishes out the term, which was originally held by April, I think, or whomever. So that really wasn't Jody's term. That was April's term, not Jody's. So it's not Jody's term. It's April's term. She quit or she had to leave. Jody finishes, and Jody finishes out April's term because it was April who was elected. Now, Jody, 2 years from now, it stands for election on her own as Jody Taylor, but she can do that for 2 terms. She's finishing out April's term. She's not finishing out Jody's term. The same as you, Beth. You're not finishing out your term. You're finishing out someone else's term in the same way that Lyndon Johnson finished out Kennedy's term. Same example. And then when he finished out Kennedy's term, it now became Lyndon Johnson is eligible for 2 terms as president of the United States. So in effect, had he won, he would have been in office for what? 10 years?
That's interesting.
So I'm saying the same thing here is that Jody and yourself are not serving out your term. You're serving out someone else's term, and you should be eligible at the end of April's term, or who was it, Barbara Blake's term. You should now be eligible to stand as Beth Dingman and Jody Taylor for 2 terms.
Okay, hang on just a second.
There's-
Instead of everybody talking back and forth, Scott
There-
has something
there-
he'd like to say as well.
Yeah, I think you all need to consider that the membership has to understand what is going to be on the ballot as well. So this needs to be understandable, and already this is very complicated. I think splitting the term into greater than 1 year or less than 1 year is a little bit more complicated. If I'm understanding what Lanny is saying, a member could serve 2 terms and that not count towards filling somebody else's unexpired term. You're entitled to your full terms, even though you've been
Correct.
elected. So that.
That's what I'm saying.
So that is really item number 3. Item 3 would be added on to either number 1 or number 2, and it sounds like item number 1 is being discussed and considered now. So really, I think the simpler the better, frankly, because again, the membership has to understand this as well. When we
And
drafted this, we tried to make this very simple. We left the language as unchanged as possible. And in that case, it would read, no director may serve more than 2 terms or 2 consecutive terms. We would remove or either leave the language that says including time served as an appointed director. I would go either way with leave that or remove it, but I think that it's going to be a bit more complicated if you're adding if they've served less than 1 year or more than 1 year.
But if you remove the language about the time served, then that leaves that in limbo a bit, doesn't it?
No, it means that that person would be entitled to do 2 full terms, and we could simply say that in the language that each board member is basically entitled to serve 2 full terms. And we would then say not including time served as an appointed director. That would be fine, just to clarify it.
I think you'd have to say that to clarify it.
Sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
and then given the age of GVR, just use the Lyndon Johnson example. Everybody will remember those days.
Well, I think the question comes down to, do you want to include filling an unexpired term as part of the terms or not? And I'm kind of hearing that you don't. And I'm kind of hearing that you're interested in option number 1. So I think that's the direction that I'm hearing, nevertheless.
Well, let me give you an example for myself, because when I was elected, I was filling a position, the remainder of a position for 3 months, January, February, March, of a previous director, and then 2 years remaining on that same person's term. So what you're saying, Lanny, is being as how I have worked that first term for 2.25 years, that I could run again when my term is up this year for another three-year term. Is that what you're saying? Because I don't think
That's what I'm saying, because you are not. So in your case, that was not your term. That was
correct.
someone else's term, and that person was. And then because of how we do this, appoint, you now are appointed. You weren't the first person elected to that position.
Correct.
You're now appointed by the board because of our bylaws. That's how it's termed. So it wasn't. So yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. You finished that person's term, and now you're entitled to serve your term.
Okay, I have to agree with Scott. Then I think that really is convoluting it.
Not
Well,
really. I'm
convoluted
saying exactly.
for the member.
Well, I'm not. Well, we don't tell them. It's not that we don't tell the members.
Yeah.
It's just part of the process. You're appointed, but now we don't have to complicate anything by trying to. We don't have to overcomplicate it by trying to explain what happens if you've been appointed or not appointed. That's already taken care of in the current bylaws. And this is the challenge.
But you're not really, in the current bylaws, you're not really appointed if somebody leaves the board. You are asked if you want to take the remaining portion of that position. And then it says, once you've used up all the names on that list, then the board can take applications and appoint
Correct.
somebody. So I'm going to let
Correct.
Scott say something. He's waving his hand here like crazy.
No, I just would like to offer some language for consideration that I think is pretty simple. Let's see how this feels. No director may serve more than 2 consecutive terms, excluding time served as an appointed director A former director may be reelected after 3 or more years' absence from the board.
That includes, and then we've got all of it in one statement.
Actually, you do.
Yes, very good,
much.
very good.
Wait, though, wait.
I've got my hand up here, Kathy.
Yeah, me
Me
too.
too.
I'm sorry, I can't, your pictures are not on my iPad. Okay, how many people have their hands up?
I
Bart
do.
and Bev and
Marge.
Okay,
Marge.
let's take Marge first, then Bev, and then Bart.
Okay, I think you guys are complicating this beyond where it needs to be. I think what Scott said originally was you have to get a 2/3 vote on this thing. And the more complicated you make it and the harder to understand you make it, the less chance you have of people voting yes. That's why if you take one thing and you say, we're just gonna limit it to 3 years instead of 1 year in between, then you can have a board member that can come back. Most of us won't after 3 years because we're aging and you're gonna have other people, but I think you really limit yourself if you start adding all this stuff because I'm confused. And I've been around for 20 years. So if you've got me confused, imagine what's going to happen, when you get a regular person. But if you're going to do this, Kathy, you got to get a second on that amended motion.
Yeah, no, I realize that, Marge, we
Okay.
haven't gotten that far yet. Okay, so the next one was, Bev
Bev.
Lawless and then Bart.
Okay, Scott said almost what I would like to say. What I would like to say, and I can amend my motion or not. No director may serve more than 2 terms, not including time served as an appointed director.
Okay.
And then he added the caveat of the 3-year break.
I think 2 terms is all we need out of most people, but beyond that, I think we run into problems.
Do you want to make a comment? Okay, I'm sorry, Bart, you're next. Whoop. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Um, I was in favor of Bev's original proposed amendment. I think it does make sense to differentiate between a short term served as an appointed director and a longer term served as an appointed director. And I'll point out that the 22nd Amendment, which is what covered Lyndon Johnson's situation, also essentially makes the same distinction. The 22nd Amendment says that if a president has served a partial term in excess of 2 years, then he would not be able to run for a second term on his own, which is now Johnson was serving less than 2 years after Kennedy's assassination. Therefore, he was eligible to run in 68, and he chose
I'm a
not.
Canadian.
Well, that's what the 22nd Amendment says. And the language that Bev proposed essentially was the same thinking behind the 22nd Amendment, except plugged into GVR bylaws.
Gotcha.
As to whether GVR members are capable of figuring out what proposed bylaws changes actually mean, I guess I'm more of an optimist maybe than some. I think they can figure it out. So anyway, I'm just going to sit back and see what happens next. Thanks.
Okay, so Bev Lawless was making an amendment to her second, I think probably as a friendly amendment to the original. So,
Yes.
so that would be, I thought I wrote it down here, not including time served as an appointed director.
Yes. No director may serve more than 2 terms, not including time served as an appointed director. So in theory, they could go for almost 9 years. It would be possible.
Yeah,
Madam Chair, I think that needs a second as a friendly amendment. Where
Yeah.
I seconded it.
Wouldn't we just have Kathy agree to that friendly amendment?
That's
yeah,
what
see, I have to
seems
agree.
be Correct.
I have to agree to the friendly amendment. And
I could say not including time served as an appointed director if less than 2 years. And I think that's understandable. For the people that are voting, either they ask somebody what it means, or I mean, like my neighbors will come up to me and say, should I vote for this or not? Or they just assume that because the board is suggesting it, they vote yes. I would be surprised if there's a whole lot of no's out there on a lot of things, just, and maybe because they don't understand it, they'll just go along with it. Or ignore it, not vote for either one.
okay, so the amendment then would be for no more than 2 terms, not including time served as an appointed director if less than 2 years. Correct?
And I'm flexible on that. We can say, if we could agree, we can say if less than 2 years or if less than 1 year.
I like the 1
I'd
year.
be flexible on that.
I think if you're gonna do it, you ought to do the 1 year. I mean, if you're gonna accept an open position, you've essentially you've already run for election, so you know, even though we're appointing them, you've already gone through an election.
Mhm.
Right.
I
Okay,
like,
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
You want me to restate it? Or does
Actually,
anybody else have a strong feeling on 1 year or 2 years?
Jody,
I guess I don't understand the difference between less than 1 year or 2 years. What are we trying to achieve here? If you do it with somebody that's less than 1 year, or like myself, that's over 2 years. It's an elimination of something, but what is it? Is it,
For
as a-
me, I would be trying to be fair. I wouldn't want to penalize you from not being able to run again if you, and I guess in your case, it's different, but for Beth, Beth, how much time do you get to serve as being appointed for whoever you replaced?
I think
Well,
just for
9 months or something.
2/3 or three
So-
quarters of a year for
so-
April.
I would hate to penalize you because you were gracious enough to accept a term of only 9 months. So I would like to say not including time served if less than 1 year. I would even be okay with 2 years. You're going to serve a year and a half. That's still only half a term.
1 year.
I think, yeah, I think, Jody, that the idea is that we don't want people, some directors to just be there for a really long time or get entrenched, and we want to leave, I mean, my feeling is you want to leave space for new people and new ideas, and that even though somebody might be good, they're always going to have a particular point of view on things. I think I think turnover is what we were looking for more than somebody, staying there and, yeah, maybe consolidating power, maybe not, but maybe just being a particular point of view for that long.
So Beth, do you think 1 year, say not including time served, if less than 1 year is more reasonable, or if less than 2 years is more reasonable?
I think 1 year, because then it's, I mean, 2 years, it's more than half of the term and it's almost a full,
Yeah,
I think you want to just say if you just served a little bit of time, that you should then be able to run. So I think 1 year would be, I mean, it sounds
Okay.
sort of self-aggrandizing to say these things, so I probably shouldn't have expressed my opinion about
Right.
that.
So I'm gonna stick with no director may serve more than 2 terms, not including time served as an appointed director if less than 1 year.
Okay, and I would accept that as a friendly amendment because how I made the motion, but Bart still has his hand up, so let's
No,
hear more comment.
I just want to point out that, anybody approached to take the remaining term of a resigning member knows up front that, at least up until now, and for the last 50 years, that remaining term was going to count as a term for purposes of the provision about the 2 consecutive terms, et cetera. So it's not like people are being shafted in any way because they know up front what's going to happen. That's it. Thanks.
But Bart, to
Okay.
rebut, yes, I agree. But the way it was written before this, that technically, speaking for myself, as an example, technically, I could wait, in the way it's written now, I could wait a year and run again for another 2 terms. And so I prefer to say just 2 terms. I prefer to make that, the law that, and then there's this exception for someone who, yes, certainly they know. Certainly that person would know that. And I'm not, again, trying to, maybe I shouldn't be speaking because I am obviously speaking from my own point of view of what I would like. But if I had a choice, I mean, voting for 2-year term limit, period, or leaving it the way it is, or even with a 3-year in between, I would vote against that.
Madam
I would
Chair,
vote for a 2-year term limit, and I would vote against any extensions, like
Okay.
waiting a year and then 2 more years.
At this point, I'm going to call a question. So we need to vote on whether we're going to move on and take a vote on this motion or not. Okay, so the motion was for a 2-year term.
No, 2
I'm sorry.
terms.
2 terms. I am so sorry. 2 terms.
No director may serve more than 2 terms,
No,
not including time served of less than 1 year.
correct. Okay. But
Not,
what
I'm sorry,
we're
not including
voting,
time served as an appointed director if less than 1 year.
okay. But what we're voting on now is whether or not we're going to vote on that motion. So if we vote no, that means we're going to go back to discussion. If we vote yes, then we'll vote on the motion. Okay? Is everybody clear?
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor of calling the question?
See, Kathy, you really have one motion on the table.
Yes,
That includes the friendly motion amendment.
yes.
So one motion.
But I'm calling the question. And as I read the Roberts rules, you have to vote on whether or not to go forward to keep discussing it or to vote.
I'm sorry, okay.
Okay? Okay. So what we're voting on now is whether we're going to move forward or not and keep discussing this. So all those in favor of moving forward with the calling of the question, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7. All those opposed? I'm missing somebody. There's 11 of us here and I'm only counting 9. So
Laney,
opposed?
I don't know where Laney is.
I'm right here.
He's
Oh.
right there, but I
Did you
couldn't,
vote?
I thought he raised his hand. Let's do
I
this.
did with Bart.
Okay.
Okay, let's do this. All those in favor of moving forward with this to the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 7 yeses. And all those opposed? Candy, Marge, and Jody. That would make 10. Don't we have 11 here?
No, Dave's not here.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Okay, so Candy, Jody, and Marge voted no. Okay, so the motion carries. Now we're going to vote on the original motion. And the original motion, would you like to go ahead with that, Bev,
Okay.
Bev, one more time?
No, make sure I've got my sound. No director may serve more than 2 terms, not including time served as an appointed director if less than 1 year.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 2, 3, 4. I can't tell if Lanny's got has Lanny got his hand up or not? Okay. So there's 4 yeses. And that would be myself, Bev Lawless, Beth Dingman, and Steve Reynolds. So the motion fails. We can go ahead and call for all those opposed. We should probably do that anyway. All those opposed, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Am I missing somebody?
Dave Barker.
And that's
Yeah,
Tim.
You're 4
Okay.
to 6.
Okay, so there's six no's and 4 yeses. And 1 person is not here. So the motion on that fails.
Kathy,
Yes,
I'd like to make a motion that we accept number 1, where we change only the time served between terms from 1 to 3 years.
okay.
I second, Nellie.
And we have Nellie seconds that. Nancy? Is there any discussion? We've talked pretty much about it. So all those in favor, please raise your hand. Go with that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses. All those in opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, all those,
Bev, you didn't vote.
Yes, I did. My
okay,
hand is up.
Oh, okay.
it appears we have 4 no's, so I need to know who the names are on the 4 no's. So that would be Candy, Bart, Beth,
No.
No,
Beth.
those are yeses.
I said yes.
Okay.
I
Wait,
said,
So that
no.
was Candy. Steve, which way did you vote, please?
I voted no.
Okay. Did you
Do
get
this
that,
again.
Nancy? Okay. Okay, so that motion for number 1 passes then for the ballot. So
That's
Scott, would you like to move on?
I'm
So
sorry.
sorry.
Did it?
Or
did it
Bart
pass?
has a comment.
Were there 6 yes votes?
Yes,
Okay.
It was a 6-4 vote.
was a 6 to 4.
The only change that was approved was changing the only time served between terms from 1 year to 3 year. All the other language stays the same as I understand it.
Okay, so consecutive is still there?
Yes?
Yeah.
Only the last sentence changes. A former director may be re-elected after 3 or more years absence from the board.
Okay. So we're going to let Scott move on to the next item for the ballot.
Okay. Let's see where we were here.
I think it's election process.
Yeah, election process, we talked about this. It's fairly straightforward, but this change recommends language to reflect current practices of eligible members submitting their name to run for the board rather than being nominated by the Nominations and Elections Committee. That seemed pretty benign. I think most were in support of that. And if you agree, I'll move on to increase check signing authority. That was approved already. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That goes from 2,500 up to 10,000.
Right.
Governance, which is the piece on standing committees. We have talked quite a bit about finding more efficient ways to utilize our committees. And essentially, just to point out some things here, a committee's role is to help structure and manage the board's work. Advisory committees do work on behalf of the board. They're there to support the board. There are a couple things I wanted to point out as well. Are committees duplicating another committee's work or staff's work? Has a standing committee that had important work to do in the past taken on additional work because that hasn't been sanctioned by the board? Do board members have so many committee meetings that they need to attend that board members are stretched thin? Are there standing committees that could evolve into task forces? Are your board committees focused on policy and strategic work? Or are they involved in operations? So those were just some of the things that we were asking people to take into consideration. The recommendation from the BAC was to eliminate and transfer the nominations and elections committee duties to the Board of Affairs, since most of that is done in-house. We've heard today that the Nominations and Elections Committee voted and didn't agree with that. The Planning and Evaluation Committee would be recommended for elimination, transfer those remaining duties to the Fiscal Affairs Committee. Board Affairs Committee would remain and take on the remaining Nominations and Elections Committee duties. Fiscal Affairs Committee would remain and take on the Planning and Evaluation Committee duties. Investment Committee would remain, and the Audit Committee would remain, although it's technically a special committee. Do you want me to continue, or do you want to vote on committees at this point? Vote on committees at this point? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we probably should. Beth, did you, just for everybody to know, Bev Lawless had to leave. So at 3:22, Bev Lawless left the meeting. So there are 10 board members remaining.
No, there's 9.
Nine.
Nine.
Sorry. Yeah. Beth, there was a discussion. Did you want to comment at this point about the N&E committee?
I would like to comment. I don't know if if I should do it now
Is
or
this the
wait
right
for
time for
a
me?
motion, but my feeling is that the N&E committee, which would be changed just to the elections committee, because we are not nominating people, but I feel like we do some real work. One is to determine the calendar, which is also done in consultation with staff. We put together a candidates info session so that candidates thinking to run have time to talk and learn something about what they might be getting into. We arrange for the candidate interviews with Green Valley News and Regina, and and we plan and organize 2 forums for the candidates. And I would argue that sort of exists separate from the BAC committee, that the BAC committee, the meeting that I was just in a couple days ago lasted 2.5 hours. So my sense is that the BAC committee has quite a bit to do and spends quite a lot of time on what they already have as their agenda. And so I would argue that the election committee should stay a committee, and I would change, maybe change the bylaws or the CPM to say that rather than saying conduct quarterly meetings, the CPM, which is part 3.1.1K, rather than saying quarterly meetings, say at least 4 meetings a year, because the elections committee really does most of its work in the early fall. Anyway, that would be my argument for maintaining that committee. But mainly, I just think it would be a lot more work for the BAC, and that there is actual work. I know Nancy does a lot of it, but we also do the organization of the forums and help with planning the calendar and organize the candidate information session.
Molly?
Madam Chair, I'm going to move the motion to implement the changes to the committee structure that is noted here. Do you want me to read it? The board shall establish the following standing committees: Board Affairs and Fiscal Affairs and Investments. And may establish additional committees which shall be identified in the corporate policy manual. I move that motion.
Second.
Okay, that was Jody.
Jody.
Seconded, did that? Seconded.
Like to speak to the motion?
Okay, then go ahead and speak to the motion.
Okay. This was discussed in Board Affairs, and there is a recognition that there is good work that's being done by the Nominations and Elections Committee. But from an efficiency standpoint, some of those administrative duties can be done by staff. In not-for-profit organizations, not uncommon for Board Affairs to handle the election process for board candidates. And so I think it can be done, and it can be incorporated with the workload that they have. And so that would be for the reasons it would be an efficiency move for staff as well as for the board.
Okay, is there any other discussion on the motion? Candy?
Okay. I've been on nominations and elections now for 2 years, and it's still my favorite committee. And as Beth said, Nancy and staff do a lot to help prepare the candidates, but I've got to tell you, it was a team effort to get the forums together, to get the questions together, to talk to the candidates before the forums, to set up everything in here, to make sure the mics are working, to actually have greeters that would greet the members that were coming to the forums, people to serve what we had to serve. It was just really a team effort that I think you needed a committee in order to do that, and a committee that's committed to trying to get the best candidates that we can get to run. And I think the candidates we had that ran last year were wonderful. And to me, they were part of that process that the NNE committee had established, working with Jody, working with Nancy, and also working together, because we worked together to come up with a lot of questions and who to ask to do this and do. To me, it was a lot of logistic stuff that worked because we had a committee that wanted to make it work. So that's why I'm in favor of trying to keep this committee, because I think it's important in helping get the right people to become elected to our board of directors. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment?
I just have a basic question. It seems to me now, listening to Beth and Candy, are we cutting just to cut and to combine committees? I mean, would it be so bad as to keep a nomination committee or election committee? I don't know. I don't know, because I was never involved in the nomination and election committee, but it does sound like they do a lot of work. And BAC, if there's a lot to do on bylaws in the CPM, that's a lot of time on BAC, and then to toss nomination and elections on top of their efforts at BAC. So it's just food for thought.
Well, the way I was probably looking at it is we can still set up, or GVR can still set up, the board of directors can still set up a special committee if it warrants that amount of time as we go on.
But why? I mean, if you already have a committee with a history and why get rid of the committee and then say, okay, but we're going to set up a special committee to do what the other committee was doing?
Well, why would we even list the committees? I mean, why don't we just say that there will be committees as assigned by the board, and then let the board to decide if they want to do board affairs, fiscal affairs, elections, and, et cetera. I mean, we could just take it out of here, and then it's not locked down, and you could put it in the CPM.
Well, it's not in the bylaws.
Okay, hang on just a second. Scott has something he'd like to.
Marge, that was actually
Yeah.
the recommendation from the consultant that helped us with this, but I tend to agree with some of the other board members that there are some probably in the membership that feel that think that that would probably be difficult to pass because they like having the idea in a document of some checks and balances with the committees as well as the board. So I'm with you 100%, and so was the consultant that it should be listed in the CPM. That's where it should be. But I think there's some questions about whether or not it would pass, but that's a good point.
Right. Could you repeat that, Scott? I didn't get it exactly.
The consultant, that was the recommendation from the consultant, that the bylaws should simply say the board has the authority to establish committees as it deems necessary, and those shall be listed in the CPM. And then the CPM per board policy could be, could include the names, the purposes of the committee. You've already got the purpose of the committee in the CPM. So the names of the committees would also be in the CPM, but that was the recommendation. And I said that was originally my recommendation. There's been some pushback, and I do understand the pushback that is possible that the membership may not vote for that. And so this was, I think, a second consideration, that it was an opportunity to decrease some of the committees, the number of committees, and make them a bit more efficient, while still keeping it in the bylaws.
Is there any other discussion from any of the board members? Well, we have a motion and a second, so I think we're going to have to go ahead on the motion and the second. So all of those in favor, and Nellie had stated what this says in on the papers that we have as to the board of directors shall, read it from here, it's larger. The board of directors shall establish the following standing committees: board affairs, fiscal affairs, and investments, and may establish additional committees which shall be identified in the corporate policy manual. That would be the change. The remaining sentence would stay the same, that states the duties of the committee shall be as defined within the corporate policy manual. The committee shall make policy recommendations to the board of directors for approval. So all of those in favor of this motion, please raise your hand. Can you help me with the count here? 1, 2,
2, 3, 4, 5.
5.
Wait a minute.
1, 2.
Beth just raised her hand.
Yeah, 1, 2.
Well, you're saying you can establish it
two.
under CPM, right?
Yes, established with the CPM, correct. So we'd have, Steve, I'm sorry, did you have your hand up? I thought you did.
Yeah.
Okay, 1, 2, 3,
5,
4, 5,
6,
6, 7 yeses. All those opposed? 1, 2, that would be 2, and that would be Candy English and Jody Walker. And that totals the 9 that we have here at the meeting. So we still have a few other items we wanted to, because there was discussion on that one. We needed to pull that one out and vote it separately. So go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to make sure that we understand what we voted for. So that means that the remaining, committees would be board affairs, fiscal affairs, investment committee, audit committee, nominations and elections would be removed from the bylaws, as would planning and evaluation. But as it was pointed out, this board can authorize additional committees in the CPM if it chooses to. So that's how I understood that.
That's how I understood. Is that how everybody understands it? Does anybody
Yeah.
understand
Yes.
something different?
Yes,
We voted on.
Okay.
it's, yes.
Okay, so
I know
we'll,
you did, but I didn't.
let's
No.
move on to,
All right. So we've talked about the elections process. We just talked about governance Section 2, I now want to talk briefly about governance section 3. This is the composition of committees. And I'm going to, since this is complicated, I'm just going to read what it says. But since committees provide policy advice to the board and not the committee chair, committee members should be responsible and accountable to the board and not the chairperson who appointed them to and maybe remove them from the committee. Appointing members to committees should be consistent with all other actions and items that come before the board. A motion to appoint followed by a second, followed by a vote. This new process would mitigate against political parties and factions that have historically dominated the makeup and composition and agenda of advisory committees. So what is being proposed is to put the appointment process of committee members under the authority of the board instead of the chair of that committee. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Subsection Article 8, Section 4, subcommittees would remove any reference to nominations and elections. Article 8, Section 2, open meetings would require all meetings, subcommittees, and work session meetings to be open to members of the corporation. This change supports transparency.
Except the audit committee.
Except for the audit committee, right. And those are the changes. Nancy, have I missed anything?
Kathy,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the changes as presented.
A second.
Okay. Did you get that, Nancy? Marge made the motion and Jody Walker seconded it. Okay, all those in favor for the remaining articles to be approved for the ballot, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, do we have any comments from the members in the audience that would like to speak? No? Okay, then may I have Jody's making a motion to adjourn
I'll
and
second.
3:39. I'm sorry, who was the second?
Marge.
Marge, thank you, Marge. All those in favor, please raise your hand. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate
Thank
your
you.
attendance,
Thanks, Kathy.
patience.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.